Okay, finally, I've managed to track you down and get you in for a conversation. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you for having me. I'm super excited. There was no traffic on the way up, too, so that was really nice.
And especially coming in Thanksgiving, traffic is the worst.
I know, and there was this meme going around last night on Facebook that had, did you see it? It was like all LA
Was that
traffic.
this year's, though? Or was that last year?
Honestly, it was just a Tuesday. It looks the same as any other day in LA. I was like, this is nothing new. It's not Thanksgiving.
But everyone gets it in their mind that it's like something special. It's like, yo, I deal with that every day.
I know. I was like, this is me going to Dante's house and me going to anyone's house. It's the same thing.
Well, that's how I actually first met you, through a mutual friend of mine and yours, Dante.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, this series wasn't put together at the time when I first met you. And from meeting you and from our interactions ever since then, I feel like there was that automatic kind of knowledge of the other person is really a unique and organic person trying to do better.
I feel the same about you.
Thank
That's
you.
amazing.
And that was why, and something that you probably don't even know yet is that Game Changers wasn't named until this. You're actually the first person that's going to be on this series since it's been called Game Changers.
What was it called before? You just had
it didn't have a name because I didn't want to rush forward and give it something that wasn't organic to what it was about. And once I had done the interviews, and I think it's 4 or 5 in now, I realized by going back and looking at specific points that we touched, that the reason I was bringing people in was because in their industry, they were changing the game.
Oh my gosh. Well, the same can be said for you, and that's pretty amazing. You should
Thank
have looked
you.
at yourself and been like, this is what I'm going to call it.
Well, that's and that's exactly why I brought you on here. And I wanted you to come in for a conversation, was because I watch what you do. And for everyone that doesn't know, you are this energetic, yoga inspiring, knowledge giver that I've seen people attract to and draw to, which is crazy to stumble upon.
Wow.
Because there's not many out there.
I mean, those are big words and really big titles. I appreciate them so much.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I'm just like everyone else, just trying to do the best that I can. So, I mean, for you, I'm like rocked right now, so thank you. That's really sweet.
If you haven't seen Jade's Instagram, it's something that really triggered an interest in my mind.
Did you get angry? Because a lot of people get angry when they see my page at first.
At first I did, actually, because I mentioned it to you. I mentioned it to you when we first started talking. I said, you said, look at this post. Or one of your friends, actually, that was with you said, read this post. And I opened it, and it was this novel.
It is straight a novel.
It was a novel.
Each one is definitely a novel.
And I read maybe the first, like, I want to say 2, 3 lines. And then I kind of was like, I can't do this right now because of the situation where we were. But then once I had maybe a couple of days gone past and I really went back and wanted to kind of like look at who you were and what you were doing, I couldn't believe the interaction that you were getting.
Oh, thank you so much. It's a trip. It's honestly.
Because most people check out when you read something like that.
It's been really amazing to, when I first started, I posted just quotes from other people.
Yeah.
I never shared my own words. I just shared their words. And then eventually I'd write a little bit, like their words were like the star of the whole thing. Like, here's someone who has valuable knowledge, who's proven their worth in this world.
Yeah.
Then here's my little tiny paragraph at the end. And what I found was I started to increase what I was writing and decrease what I was sharing. One day, one of my friends was like, why are you not writing your own words? Like, why are you repeatedly sharing these amazing authors, but what part of you is in this? And it really challenged me. And I made this switch like really early on. So I think I've just cultivated that. My page isn't about the pictures. It's not about anything, but everyone knows that there's going to be this words. And if I don't, there's rare times when I take a tiny little paragraph or I'll write like a tiny caption. It's not as engaging because people are expecting, or like they've already cultivated this expectation that I'm going to be writing a lot. So it's really nice to see in a world of people who Barnes and Nobles are closing. These bookstores that are my life, where I grew up, where I learned most of my things, are obsolete now. And so for me to have even just a tiny paragraph, it seems big, but in the grand scheme of things it's so tiny, is just worth more than my existence.
How do you stay consistent with that? Because that's a real big job because you post so regularly, which is amazing because your fans want that. But how do you keep yourself to a higher level of staying consistent?
I just have fallen backwards in love with honesty. From a funny place, I dated a couple guys that were big cheaters and lied to my face, and I just kind of like shoved my own intuition down and just married into what everyone else's version of the truth was. And then I kind of just landed in this place where I was like, this is self-destructive. I'm suicidal. If I don't change something, if I don't fall in love with something real and concrete, I'm just going to be Alice in Wonderland, just tumbling backwards. And so I kind of went back to that space of just if I don't feel like I can post, I won't. And it seems regularly, I guess, in like the grand scheme. But to me, it's like there'll be 5 days I don't post, 6 days I don't post. But when I write, it's like a download. I can't even tell you. I don't know what I'm saying. I don't even know what the post says until I'm done. And oftentimes I'll read it at the end and I'll just be like, oh, whatever, that was like normal. And then I'll get a pretty good response, and comments are just everything to me. And when someone opens up on my page about a childhood trauma they've never spoken to anyone else for, it's just everything about my existence and why I'm here. And I think that I just lost exactly what
you're doing what you do when you do your post. Exactly. You start to write.
You're so right.
And it just kind of comes out along the way.
It does, and that's it. Thank you for helping me.
Yeah.
People will tag me in my words from a month ago, years ago, and they'll write this thing, and I'll be reading it, right? They tag me, and I'm like, why did they tag me in this? And I'm reading it, and I won't even remember that it's my words until the end, and they tag me as the author. That's how like not as attached I am to what I'm saying. And it's just, oftentimes I have chills right now. I'll get one line of a download, and I just sit there, and I know that I can't write on my notes. It has to be in the text box of Instagram. It has to be that tiny little thing where I can just see one line at a time.
Why is that?
I have no idea. I think it's just, to me, it's my artistry is so free on there. I don't feel like there's any I only work with one brand, and I'm not constrained by them whatsoever. In fact, it's the opposite. So I feel like it's like a piece of my diary I write for myself that applies to everyone, because we're all so much more connected than we understand. And I just feel like there's no parameters, and I'm just able to like run wild and say what I want. And it's just, some people paint on canvas, some people draw, but mine is Instagram. I don't know why it's cultivated that way, but it is. I
have an understanding of why you have such great interaction on your Instagram, but I want to hear from you. You have fans over followers, is how I put it. I had a conversation with someone recently, and I brought up your name because I was talking about the interaction on social media. And people can have 2, 3, 4, 500,000 followers, millions of followers, and have not a great interaction. Why do you?
Well, because I don't think it's either fans or followers. I think it's friends.
Okay.
And that's honestly, like, both those words they rub me wrong ways for me personally. And I just, from the beginning, you can go back and find my captions, like, people like, oh, I'm your biggest follower or whatever. I'm like, don't call yourself that. Like, that word just has a negative connotation in my mind. And there's an amazing spiritual teacher that I've gone and seen and watched his YouTube, and his name's Matt Kahn. And he says, I don't collect students, I awaken masters. Wow. And for me, that's like the essence of what I'm doing here. Is I'm not here to, most people try and drive a little like school of people behind them, like, come follow me here, come follow me. I don't really want you to ever need me. I mean, I definitely don't want you to ever need me. And if you're coming on my retreat, I hope that it's maybe the last time you spend the money and you get what you need out of it. You come to class or workshop, it sparks that fire in you, because you don't need my fire. There doesn't need to be a million Jades. There's one Jade Alectra, and that's far enough already. So we need like the Dustin who just is inflamed, right? We need everyone to just be in their essence. And I just feel like I try and spark that fire, and it's such from a non-egotistical place. Like, I've said this again and again, if something happened to my Instagram, I wouldn't be back. I would literally head for the hills. Like, this isn't an investment of, I also haven't treated it as a business. I've treated it as an art. And that's why I'm not making much off of it. I haven't monetized my following. I've largely just spent time cultivating their lives. Like, we have so many layers and so many beautiful aspects to who we are. we've been taught not to look inward, not to delve into them. And then we try and date people and run around like chickens with their heads cut off. And there's not really this understanding of who we are. And so I've just spent 30 years on this earth understanding my own family, my own dysfunction, why we do. I feel like I just was born a psychologist. Like I just was born studying all these things. And I just think that it's always been important to me to hear them speak, not to hear myself speak.
Do you think you will ever try to monetize your following?
I mean, at some point, I'd like to pay for the food I eat.
Because what you do,
great.
you do offer you offer this amazing service to people,
Thank
and
you.
services should be rendered in some form that allows you to continue to do what you're doing. So where does that come? Where you make the switch and you say, you know what, I really want to continue to do this as the rest of my life and a career, but I need to monetize this. And there is money in that industry.
Oh, yeah, there's a ton. But I just think, you know, a lot of my friends put out ebooks or they pump out retreats or they have teacher trainings. And all these things are fantastic when they're ripe and it's ready. I'm a big proponent of like, go do it before you are ready, like start and jump in. But with this, it was just, I have so many people's trust in me. I cannot even begin to describe the DMs. I'm full on my DM list. Like, I can't get
Don't
any more.
DM Jade right now.
Don't DM me right now.
Can't get to them.
No, not right now. But it's like, how do you respond to someone who's pouring their heart out, was molested as a child, never came to grips, never ever like had anyone sit and hold them? So the thing that I'm getting to is like an energetic exchange is so important to be on like a valid foundation. And right now I'm running on fumes. It's been 6 years or 7 years, however long I've had my Instagram, that I've been doing it for free. I haven't asked for a thing besides like come to my workshops, which are centralized in California. And now I would do retreats in Kauai and Mexico and now Sedona. But I'm looking into, I've always wanted to write a book since I was little. But
which would be amazing. I feel like you could write a book just with your Instagram posts if you put them out.
It's totally what I want to do. Is like, because I don't even know the writing myself. I want to go back, but I'm just figuring out my own life, you know. And honestly, that's what it boils down to. Is like, there's a lot of people that offer up services before they're actually doing the work themselves. And if you're, you know, trying to save someone else from a drowning place, it's like the most irresponsible thing in my personal opinion. So I've been very sensitive in just tapping into where I'm at in my life, solidifying who I am, what I'm offering. And right now I'm really dialing in a couple collaborations and just really sitting with myself in deep meditation and deep breaths in my body of like, what is it that I feel most passionate about? Because so many people told me, don't write a book, you'll make no money. You'll all these things, these naysayers. And it's like, but that's in my heart. Like that's what's, if you open me up, that's what it would look like. I'm a writer, and it's weird to say that out loud because I don't see myself as a writer. I just do what I do. But
it's tough when you vocalize something. Because the moment you vocalize it,
it's real.
It's real.
Thank you for giving me that space to own who I am. It's, you know, it's been a long journey as a girl, and I feel like 30 turned the page into a woman, and it's just, it's hard. It's been hard dating people that were bad, and just like, you know, I'm a very triggering person, which is why I asked you, did you feel angry when you first opened my Instagram? Because I get so many people that are like, when I first saw your page, it irritated me because it rubbed them raw in the spaces that they were holding back. But that's why I'm here on this earth. And the more I embrace that, the more people I piss off, but the more people that come to terms with who they are.
What does it feel like being a woman?
God, I'm still trying to figure that out.
Because you say you know, it's been 30 years from being a girl, and you believe that, you know, you're now becoming a woman. What is it that really you felt that made you switch? Because it's not turning 30. Like, it's not your 30th birthday, you go, I'm a woman, or I turned 30 this year, I'm a man now. There's something that happens in a mental concept and a construct that changes in a person.
Well, to be completely candid, it was the first time I had sex with someone, and I didn't lose my essence in that exchange. And I feel like that was a big turning point for me, because I am a healer by nature, and I'm just like, I feel the magnetism of someone who's holding back in their life. So obviously, it's a very irresponsible place to put that in the arena of who you're dating, because then it just becomes this, you know, my last boyfriend was a huge opiate addict for 15 years. And our whole relationship was 1 month of like, you know, pretty good, you know, calmness, and then just detoxing him was the entire rest of it. So I think,
yeah.
I think the moment that I was able to have sex and feel not removed, but more connected to myself, because really there's an argument that you've never experienced anyone outside of yourself. It's literally just a reflection of you. All these people around you are literally just versions of you that aren't integrated yet. So I feel like, to me, being a woman is not necessarily going around having sex, but just that change happened. And I feel like my chin is level to the earth now. I'm not looking down when I walk. I feel my chest is more proud. I'm breathing into my body, and my practice has gotten deeper. I'm kinder. I'm more loving. I feel more available to hold space for people while I'm still not trying to, like, I used to think I had to go down and submerge myself. Like, oh, you're drowning 10 feet, let me join you.
Yeah.
This is how you get back to the top. And a depleted healer does nothing for anyone.
Well, that's got to be tough, because you're dealing with a lot of people's issues and problems on a daily basis. How do you not take on those problems?
It's been a learning process. At first, it ate me alive, and after workshops, I would just be a crumpled mess. And I think that the more conscious I take myself, the more my unconscious behaviors diminish. Like, I used to eat fast food. There's a year where I gained 60 pounds. I ate Taco Bell, Del Taco, McDonald's,
all
everything.
Good stuff. All the stuff that I eat on the daily. You're saying these are bad. I eat on the daily.
Oh, you're so lucky. Just send me a FaceTime of eating it so I can remember those times. Yeah, I think that the more you can level out your unconscious behaviors and stay conscious, the more you are able to stay grounded in who and what you are. And, like, how many people can say they honestly know who they are?
Yeah.
And if you don't know that, how can you date someone? Because you don't even know. There's this Shel Silverstein quote, and I'm going to butcher the hell out of it, but it's like, he was blue and so was she. He walked around looking for blue, and so did she. Anyway, they hid their color, and they walked right by and never knew.
Yeah.
So it's like your essence, when you're not, like, all the way deep in it and exposing yourself in just bravery, right? It takes so much bravery to be who and what you are. When your parents, when, like, your schooling, when everything has told you not to be that thing, it's like an unwrapping. That's what it feels like also to be a woman, is just to unravel myself, not be ashamed of my body, be proud of my sexuality, proud of just being an essence paid attention to, I think is interesting too.
I was watching your Instagram Live, which is something that I see as an amazing phenomenon to watch and really see the interaction between you and your friends, as you call them.
Thank you.
And you were talking to someone, it was maybe yesterday, I think, about body shaming and being comfortable in your body. Do you realize the responsibility that you really do have on people's lives? Because people are watching and they're learning from what you're saying and they're acting on it. Whether it's relationship advice, a guy that I saw someone recently you were talking to that had been in a 10-year relationship and they needed to walk away. You have a huge responsibility for other people's lives and their actions. How do you, like, what do you do? Like, how do you feel about that?
Well, this is the first moment I'm realizing how big that weight is. Thank you, Dusty.
I don't want to hold it down on
good.
you.
No, it's true.
It's crazy because people say that as well, and I find people that will message me and DM me about what I do, and they'll say similar things like, wow, you're really helping me to do this. But yours is like, people could potentially be breaking up with someone or getting out of a marriage or positively getting out of a depression because of what you're doing.
Yes. I mean, there's definitely both sides. I think I've switched. I've grown a lot. At first, I was giving a lot of advice, like, oh, you should do this. And I was listening intuitively to, like, I listen to what people don't say. So you can tell me your spiel, but I'm listening to your energy about the subject matter. So you can say, like, I love him.
Yeah.
And your whole body just radiates, like, fuck no.
Yeah.
So I think that I was at the time, like, giving them a lot more. And now, you know, after 6 years of doing this, holding space and hearing just about every version of the story, God, it's so hard to, like, think about these. Some of these things are just, like, terrible, terrible, dark things. I think that it's just all I know. All I know is to hold the space for you to blossom because it hasn't been given to me.
Yeah.
I probably have never had a friend that just held me in just utter honesty and love. And so I just think that I'm like that. I want to be the person that I wish I knew in high school. And so I think when they're, you know, with great responsibility comes like a lot of weight, but it's more worth it than to just kind of shimmy on my own shit, you know?
Which is what most people do.
Yeah.
Most
Sadly,
people do that because they don't want to take the responsibility.
And they don't know they have the power.
That's
no
true.
one's empowered them.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just here to empower people.
Why are you empowered then?
Why am I? Because I've felt the depth of brokenness.
Mm-hmm.
I've felt there was a time where I was ready to kill myself. I was done. The 25th year of my life was the worst year.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm careful not to compare because I know so many people's stories, right? And people like, oh, well, it's not so bad when I hear this person's. And it's not. It's a sliding scale of your understanding of what bad and good is. But, you know, it was just a year of I was raped. I was beaten. I was leaving a club and there was 6 dudes and 2 girls that just beat the shit out of me for no reason.
Wow.
You know, curb stomped me, kicked me in the back of the head. My low back has tons of nerve damage, and I was just sitting there covering my head. Got up and they did it again. There was it was a devastating year. I'm not going to go into everything, but there was just a point where I got in the car and I was like, I am so done with life. I commit to the death. I got in my car, I put my song, my friend's band, Once a Tree, they have the song For You, and it's so emotional. I put it on full speed or full blast. I was sobbing like I've never sobbed. It was like caverns of just unfelt shit coming up. And I was on this cliff and I just made the decision. I yanked my steering wheel to the right, and as soon as the tire hit the cliff, it just died. Like the entire car just died. And that's the moment I was supposed to be gone. And I don't know to this day, I mean, I know why, but I don't know why the car just never turned on again. It's perfectly working fine. I climbed down into the ditch, just held my face in my hands, and I just was, in that moment, I was birthed with this idea of like, if I committed that deep to death, what happens if I commit this deep to living? Like, what could I not do? Like, there's no limits. And so I think that's kind of why.
I feel like that for anyone to be as positive and to move other people to action, they have to have experienced the worst.
Yeah, at least the worst of what they know it in that moment. And every ounce of those down to the rape is such a gift, and that's really hard to like look in your eyes and say, but it's really true. And that's the level of which I'm working on my spirituality, is like everything has gifted me something, even that moment, even those like really uncomfortable, sickening in my stomach, they're all a gift. And this level of compassion that I've cultivated is quite literally from the times that I didn't think I could go on breathing.
For many people that have gone through similar things, different things that have gotten them to that point, they, from what I've heard, and also from my own experiences with death and with, you know, some certain things that have like held me down, do you believe that you embrace it on the daily in what you do, or are you a person that really sets it away? Because I used to be the person that pushed it away and wouldn't deal with it. And only very recently have I become a person that has started to deal with those things 10 years later.
Wow.
Is that something that you have learned that you do, or can you push it away and not deal with it?
That is honestly a very beautiful question, and I'm glad that you're actually making me think instead of just these automated answers. It's beautiful. I think in my past, I definitely pushed them down. I didn't know how. No one has ever like sat me down and been like, "This is how you handle stress, pain, body shaming, anything." No one's ever like helped me. So, you know, what we learn as women, as humans, is just to like shove it down. And where that lives is in the body, which is why yoga partly saved my life, because it's in the hips, it's in the low back, it's in your shoulders. And I can actually like, you know, assess what you're carrying, what kind of traumas you're holding by what place in the body you're stiff, or you always have this reoccurring injury is actually correlating to some deep trauma or other different stress factors. But I think to answer your question is, now I deal with them as they come. For example, I think the most clear, succinct example would be my ex-boyfriend that was 10 years, heavy addict. When he broke up with me, he got out of rehab, got clean, and his like announcement of like, I'm coming back to you was, I'm breaking up with you.
Yeah.
And it was so shocking to me. I was so shocked that I was thrown back into like I've always been broken up with. Fun fact about Jade. And when I get in that space, it feels like just like Alice in Wonderland, right? Tumbling in the dark. Like my intuition goes blank. I have no idea who I am, what I am. No foundation makes sense because this is how I know I inappropriately put my foundation on someone else. When that happened, I decided to throw myself into every feeling that I felt. So instead of going like my ex for a year, I woke up every day like, why am I not good enough?
Yeah.
I opened my eyes.
That's the question I feel like most people that are either broken up with or do not get the respect that they deserve in a relationship ask themselves.
And I think it's a really interesting question because they are asking the right question to the wrong person. They should ask that to themselves. And it's like, it's a poster you read in 4th grade, self-love, and it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't land until it lands and you understand that if you want to save, it's like, to me, it's so simple when the oxygen mask drops down. They say for a reason, put it on yourself first, and then on the kid.
Children, yeah.
I remember having that like thought process of like, oh, I totally get it. You pass out, the kid's dead too. Like you need to save yourself, and when you are breathing, and like, so if we were like going to meet and you had a fight with someone, and you came in and you were like super mad and you're like you can listen to someone's quality of breath and you can vibrationally match them, so I can actually like join in on your party of upsetness, or I can sit, hold your gaze and hold my breath really, really succinct, like soft and smooth, and you'll join me. So I think vibrationally matching is kind of correlating to when you're dating someone, you kind of take on their aspect of who they think you are. So when it's a death that of someone who hasn't died, right? They like, I don't want to be with you anymore. I'm going to go over here and pretend I'm not living, but like you don't exist to me. It's just to me a reflection of you put too many eggs in someone else's basket. And to me, if you are answering the question of what you are most passionate about, if you're putting your eggs and your passion just in this whatever it is that you're creating, if you're not creating anything, then of course you're going to find the avenue of drugs, of a relationship. So I think when you're just settled in the passionate part and you've got that answered, it's game over. You don't have to feel so attached negatively.
You said that you've always been the person that has been broken up with.
Oh, great, Dusty. Let's just go this one home.
No, the reason that I want to talk about that is because I used to be the opposite to that. I was the guy that always did the breaking up. And until a girlfriend that I dated for a long time and someone that I really had thought that there was a really big future in, and I had my heart broken.
She broke up with you. She
broke up with me. The first person the girl that I'd loved that had ever broken up with me. And I truly don't believe that I understood the impact that breaking up a relationship and losing someone that you really love had, that I wouldn't have been able to be where I am today in the way that I love and the way that I interact with people.
Exactly.
Is that something, though, that you have never broken up with someone?
No, never. I think the closest I came was I was mad at someone one time because he asked me to pay for his movie. It was a $4 movie, and he asked me to pay for his ticket.
Oh, hell no, we ain't paying. It's $4. Come on.
I know. It was like Movie Tuesday, and I was like, really? $4 and to buy his taco? Not sexual, just an actual taco. And I was like, this is where I draw the line. But then we got back together, and then he did the final break. So
but do you think it's something that you need to do in your life? Because I definitely know that as much as I didn't want that, and it still hurts, that had to happen.
It made
for
you
me.
a better person. Yeah.
And will you? I'm not saying you're going to go out and date someone. If you're the next person that goes out and dates Jay, get ready, because she's going to break up with you just in a couple months, just so that you've done that. Do you think it's something that you need to do?
I think I can't answer that in that way. I can answer the fact that if I felt with all my heart that it wasn't right, then I would absolutely. Sometimes, like, I wrote this one time, like, sometimes love means leaving. And to me, if that's the case and you get to that space, instead of just dating this person forever and letting it drag on, that's not loving. Because so many people, that's the question that exhausts me the most, because it seems so simple now that I'm on the other side of it, is like, oh, I love this person, but I'm no longer in love with them, and for whatever reason our paths aren't synced up, but I don't want to leave. It's like, that's the most unloving thing you can do, is be with someone out of just the fact of being with them.
Which is like a lot of people get stuck in relationships because they're either comfortable or they are afraid of the fact that they feel they would never find anyone else that loves them maybe the way that they are. But I believe if you're already questioning that, you're already outside the relationship.
Yeah, exactly. That's a very beautiful way to put it. And I look back at the first person I dated, and I thought I have an embarrassing book at my house, and we had this class together for whatever reason. It was called like relationships or something, communications. And we had to create a book of like a fake marriage with some partner. And I did it with my boyfriend at the time. And I had this disgusting book of this white dress where it's like I faked our wedding and like wrote all these disgusting captions.
Yeah.
And he was a cheater. He was terrible. He was literally terrible to me. And I just remember saying to myself, like, I'm just going to commit all the way to this relationship. And also, I have no idea what you asked me, so... What was the question?
Your nuggets of knowledge here are coming from, like, I believe... And this is... Yes. Before you say that, this is the reason behind this show of Game Changers is because this is a space for people to get out whatever they are feeling. Whatever they have to tell the world about themselves and also to inspire.
I appreciate that because I never really get to sit down and like bounce ideas off such a perfect mirror who's doing the work too.
Thank you.
And thank you for being that. But what I remember now is that I remember thinking at that time when he broke up with me for like the 8th time, cheated on me with every girl in high school. I just walked around sobbing like a little limp noodle. Yeah. And I remember thinking like there's no way at 16 that anyone's gonna love me as well as this person. And
it feels so real. It feels so real.
That is the truest statement. It feels like the end of the world, the beginning of the world. Everything is so potent. And everyone's like, oh, it's just first love. But that's how I love.
To you, when someone says, don't worry, it's your first love, you'll get through it and you'll find someone else, you're like, nah, there's no way that's happening.
Then you just
I was meant to be.
Up.
Oh, for sure. And,
challenge.
Yeah.
Challenge accepted.
You learn from that and how you deal with other people's emotions and their breakdowns to not say those things. You know, and that's what I watch in your comments. And you seem to say the right thing. And I think it's because you have honestly been through a lot of shit.
It's true. It's true in part that, and I think it's also in part, I get these, like I'm looking up because that's just where it comes from. Yeah. I get these like downloads about a person. So my friend, I was driving to work yesterday and I just all of a sudden felt transported into his body where it just was like dark and it was sad. And I could just all of a sudden I get pictures sometimes for people, messages, all these weird things that I don't even feel comfortable with. So I know they're real because I don't want to say them, but I have to. I just get these downloads. And so whenever someone asks me a question, I'm not just answering a universal answer. I'm literally like taking pieces of who they are and weaving in what I believe and but keeping it in a space of like, but you have to follow your heart because I can heal someone, right? I can tell you like, this is a toxic relationship. You need to get out of it. But instead of telling them that the fire is hot, letting them take one finger and burning it and going, okay, I don't want to do that again. Kind of is more my method now is like, let's go together, but I'm going to tell you and show you why this is a bad idea, but you're going to discover that on your own. And self-discovery, right, is the most potent thing. And you start to feel like, I don't want anyone to swallow my medicine. The things that's in your body and your mind is way more delicious and delivered to you. Yeah.
Is it hard to be so honest with people sometimes? Because we deal with it on a daily basis with our friends and people that are around us. And you do see people... And I have close friends that sometimes I don't tell them because I don't want to hurt them. And you talk about the interactions you have as your friends. Are you at a point where you can literally be 100% honest with people? Or do you sugarcoat it sometimes?
No, Jade cannot sugarcoat anything.
That's
only cool. The candy I eat is the sweetest thing that gets to my mouth. But I think that... yes, 100% honesty has left me with no friends. So largely I'd say I don't have very many friends, if any at all, because there always comes a point, every best friend I've had, I go through cycles. there's a point where they no longer want to live in the space of uncertainty, right? When you're always trying to peel a layer back. It's not like I'm trying to sit in my trauma and like scratch the wound and reopen something. But as you find, like, you go down deeper into the breath, like new things come up and new shifts occur. And I'm just a lone wolf. So I feel like as soon as I've accepted that as my responsibility, as like what my truest essence is, I've been alleviated the fact of when people leave, because I feel a very big theme in my life is people will always leave, and that's the separation I have to maintain, where they are friends, but there's a point where they want to hang out and get coffee. I need to make sure that I'm drawing the line of like, this is a student-teacher interaction, or I don't want to be someone's soundboard where they're just like, vomiting. It has to be. I need to keep myself very potent, and in order to do that, I have to stay away from the crowd, right? And that's been a hard thing because I crave personal relationships, but a lot of people...
That's a huge compromise to make.
It is.
You're making a compromise with sacrificing having friends to help and heal and build these other people up. Do you not question that?
I was just going to say, yeah, I question it. Sometimes. Obviously, it gets to a point where I'm just like, is it right for me to stay in this space? But I mean, I'm always open to anything. So if I started to cultivate this big friends group, largely the people that come on retreats, there's like a couple each time that are really stand up people where they've kind of done the work and they're in a really good space where I wish with all my might that they lived by me so I could see them on a regular basis. Yeah. But all my friends, just for whatever reason, like, are up in LA. Like you, right? You're all the way here. I can't be like, Dusty, let's take a yoga class. Yeah. So I make these really dope acquaintances, but I don't really get to meet them on the level that I wish. And, I've obviously never had a meaningful relationship, so I think I'm hoping one day that comes. But for now, I'm putting all my trust in the fact that these people are coming to me for a reason. If I can just even change one life, and I think a lot of people too think, I don't have followers, so I can't put my art out. Yeah. There was some artist that my friend had a class in college, and he had this professor that brought these big, back in the day names in the music industry. And I forget what band he was from, but it was this artist that came in, and one of the kids raised his hand and said, I have these amazing songs, like award-winning songs, but I don't want to share them and put them out in the world until I've made it. So then I can use them then. Yeah. And he goes, you're not an artist. An artist doesn't hold on to things and keep it in his back pocket. They use everything and then keep moving. Yeah. And that just really struck an idea with me of just, I want to live in that space and just flow with whatever.
I want to ask you something, and you can completely not answer it.
Go all the way in, Dusty. Go, bring it home.
This question definitely was not one that I had even thought about. It's just from your conversation and your relationships that you talk about, and I'm sure other people can really resonate with it, and I do with my personal relationships. Do you believe that you give so much to people? Through your advice and emotionally, do you believe that in your relationships romantically that affects it? You giving so much to other people outside, and then with the person that is the intimate and the one that you usually have that relationship with, is there an impact there?
That's a great question. Well, it's hard to say because the last boyfriend I dated, like I said, I was like his personal rehab. So we were going through it. It was just a very, very painful, hard, both of us, just dark time. And so I regressed. Like, I love the world, but if I fall in love with someone, it's going to be 100%. Yeah. Like, this is my focus. So my Instagram always shifts, and you can tell, like, this one, he was very personal, so he didn't want me to share the story until after. Yeah. So no one knew I even had a boyfriend. That was hard for me because I was going through it and had no outlet. And so I just all of a sudden came out with, like, I had a breakup, and I dated someone for the last 10 months. So you would, if you were really watching, you would notice, like, there's this, you can tell when I get depressed, and I think that's kind of more.
You still get depressed?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think I've reached a different milestone now after this last boyfriend, and after I told you, like, had sex and kept my essence in my body. But I think that depression is such a huge blessing because it's a sign. It's
Yeah.
not a thing, in my personal belief pattern. It's not a thing where it's like, this is just, the clouds are here and this weather. It's like telling you very violently, like, hey, you are not listening to something that is repeating. You are in Groundhog Day. So the outside or the inside will always reflect on the outside what's happening.
Yeah.
And if you don't listen, it's just going to give you these like roadblock after, you know, shaking you until it's just, you listen and you don't. And there's a girl that writes me on Instagram, you know, once a year, the same thing about the same boy.
Yeah.
And we have the same conversation. And so each year, you asking if I'm truthful, I slay her with the truth. Like, there is nothing, I hold nothing left because she needs it. And that's why a lot of people, I do rub the wrong way. That, you know, there's been people that have walked out of my classes because it's not
honest.
in your face. Yeah.
It's just honest. Some people don't want to hear honesty.
And that's fair. And that's totally their right. And it's also my right and my...
But is it their right if they're going to someone for advice and for healing to not want honesty? I don't think it is, because if you personally, and maybe I'm being a dick, but if you go to a class to learn, whether it's school, whether it's yoga or healing, you should be 100% honest to learn everything that is being given to you.
Have you dated a girl and not been completely faithful and like all the way in?
Yes, definitely.
So there's so many people that just show up to school, show up to these things and do that, the action without the breath, the essence, without actually being there.
Yeah.
And I think it's an awakening. And that's why I'm so insistent on like, no one wastes their time dating someone for 10 years because you learned something.
Yeah.
It might have taken you 10 years of repeating action, but you've grown from that. And like you said, you know, you had to be broken up with to now appreciate who's in your hands and whose heart is just...
the responsibility you have.
for yourself and for them. So I think it is absolutely their right to get up and walk out because I did that. And the first 5 classes of yoga, I was like, fuck this shit. It's so terrible. It hurts like a bitch.
Yeah.
I was in there for 10 minutes and I was like, this is terrible. I don't know what y'all are saying here for. I got up and left angry, like slapped my mat around like a dick. Then I went in, I was like, oh fuck, I'll try it again. I did basketball, I did pole vaulting. I was like, I'm not a pussy, I should be able to do this shit. Left 10 minutes, angry. Because I was feeling parts of myself that I hadn't. No one had ever been sweet to me and shown up for me, and I had to do it for myself for the first time, and that's not a pretty place or an easy thing. And so it is definitely, you know, that girlfriend that you, all the girls that you broke up with, you're looking at them, right? So I'm the girl that you've devastated, and I'm still here now kicking and having such a, you were a blessing to us. So like every action is meant and needed, and that's where I live from, that place of utter trust, I guess. And walk out of the class. But some point in your life, you're going to remember my words. You're going to remember how that heartbreak felt, or whatever your action is. You're going to taste what you did, or and hopefully you sit with a forgiveness of yourself and let that lesson just sink until you can start again.
Where are you at in your journey now? I see you. You know, you have your retreats, you have your classes, you have your yoga, your Instagram, and life seems to be really good.
Does it?
It does.
I try and make a point to make sure it's not always like that on my Instagram, obviously. But it is actually beautiful right now. I mean, I just got back from New York. I'm going back this Friday. I set a goal last year for myself to travel teach. There's so many studios that did not have faith in me. They said you don't have enough followers to qualify to come
Screw
teach here.
those people.
Right? And now I'm like, you know what? You have to believe in yourself more than the people that tell you no.
Yeah.
So I just put that into action this year. I just have a lot of really beautiful things looking up for the next year. So I think I'm just at a refining stage of like what you're saying, right? Like, what am I going to monetize? Like, what is going to be the product that I can stand behind? I've been in so many arguments with my friends are just like, put something out. I don't care what it is, Jade. Like, to be completely candid and to just like harpoon myself and get rid of any chance that anyone will ever date me. Right now I'm 30 and I live at home. It's like the fact about me that I hate the most, but the one I need to wear the most honest, because it's just like that's how my life has been, is like I've been helping everyone else, but it's like Jade's time. And so I'm really learning boundaries to like shift my Instagram into a new era of not looking at the past and just being like, what's in my field right now? What's happening? So really just getting a product or a book or whatever it is together, and just where I can birth my passion.
I feel like you're at the place that I was watching a Zane Lowe interview with Miley Cyrus. And Miley is not someone that you would normally kind of turn to and really get some type of nugget of knowledge from, but she said that she's at the time of no. She's at the time of saying no to people and being in the present for herself. And I feel like from what you said about, the living at home and really starting to look within, you're kind of getting there.
For sure. Man, I am a big proponent of like, don't shoot down anyone or anything because they've been whatever, drunk or a druggie. Like, I learned the most at my rehab center that I teach yoga at.
Yeah.
They have the most nuggets. So like, Miley can spout off this and that, but there's nuggets in everything and everyone. So thank you for sharing that with me. There's a quote, I think by Nair Wahid, if I'm quoting it right, and it said, "No might make them angry, but it'll make you free." And that's, you're so right. It is a time of not feeling like a bitch if I don't sleep with someone, or not feeling like I'm going to let someone down if I don't, like, thinking about going to someone's house and thinking that I owe them something is like, that's no longer in my in my field.
That's
and I'm
great.
like, yeah, I've had to earn it. And so I just want people to know that themselves. But yes, I'm definitely in the time.
You're at the time of no.
Nope.
I think I'm there as well. I think I'm there.
High five.
Yes.
No is a good word.
But thank you for not saying no to coming
That's true. Shit.
on Game Changers.
Am I doing that? I don't know if I'm doing a good job.
No, you said yes because it was the right thing to do.
Ooh, very. That's
but thank you so much. Your story and your actions and everything you're doing for other people is what inspires me to keep going as well.
Thank you. And I wanted to stop you in the middle because I was like listening to what you're saying, but this is a surreal moment for me. This is the first time I've ever sat down and just someone's giving me the space to really reflect on everything I've done. So I'm so grateful because I feel like I look at my Instagram in little spurts where I'm like, oh, this was this relationship, and then this has been single Jade. And to have someone just let you paint the picture is such a deep gratitude of everything that I've done, where I'm going, where I've been. And meeting you was such a weird chance and fate. And I am a better person having known you and followed you. Thank you for giving me that space and for giving everyone else the space to let their story be heard and sharing yours as well.
Well, this space is always open to you.
Thank you.
Jade Alectra.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.